It's great to be here today, and I believe I have a word for you, a word for every person in this room. Whether you're first time, 10th, 50th, doesn't matter. I really feel what I'm going to say will land on you and your heart, and you'll respond. There will be something in what I'm saying today that might be one of the pivotal points of your life, that you might make some decisions toward a specific path that God would have for you. I'm going to deal with the title of the message is called Second Chance God. Second Chance God. Say it with me. Second Chance God. How many are really, really thrilled He is a second chance God? You know, how many of you have ever had a second chance? How many have had a third chance? Fourth chance? How many are up to number 21 now? Another chance. Yes, that's what it's all about. The message will land on you because we all have a story. I have a story. You have a story. We all have a story. I wasn't always a good person. I was, before turning to Christ, even though I was raised in the church, I had definitely some problems. And those problems led me to more problems. And if it wasn't for God giving me the second chance and the third chance, I'm not sure where my life would have ended up. But I look back on my life. I'm 72 years old. Now's the time to turn to your neighbor and say, no way. No way. Thank you very much. But yes, I'm 72. And so I've seen a lot of people's lives, and I've lived a lot of life. And looking back over my own life, I would say I've had specific times, specific second chances that were pivotal to destiny. They were pivotal to life itself. There's only maybe a half dozen of those that I've had in my lifetime. I've had many other chances, but only specifically this thing called the second chance that deals with your life and your destiny when you deal with your dreams and your disappointments and your blunders and your miscalculations in life. And what happens, you end up either turning to God for a second chance, or you end up on a path you don't want to be on, and that path complicates your life. And as you look back to that pivotal signpost, that time where you came to the stoplight, in life, metaphorically speaking, the four-way stop, and you come to it, and you could have gone right, left, forward, and each one of them had a different outcome. Each one of them would have taken you down a different path. And you decided to go whatever way you decided to go. Sometimes those decisions have a great impact upon our life and everybody else living around us. We could go to many characters in the Bible because the nature of God is a nature of compassion and mercy and grace and forgiveness. He's also the God who is just. He's the God who is holy. He's the God who is also wanting to mold us and transform us into something more than just our carnal nature. And so the nature of God is involved with each one of these characters. Jacob, he was a conniver. He did so many things wrong coming up to that final second chance that Jacob had when he wrestled with the angel of God, and then God touched him in his hip and he limped off into the sunset, and there was the stamp of God upon this man. He would limp the rest of his life. Even though he limped, he had embraced the grace of God. Our Gideon, how much grace did Gideon get for his second and third chance? What about David? Psalm 51 and the whole story of David and what happened with David. And as you know, he was a naughty man. He did some naughty things. A great king, great gift, great leader. He failed in certain areas of character, and he caused a lot of problems in other people's lives. Peter failed, denying Christ and all that he went through, but he didn't deserve, but maybe God felt he did. Obviously he did. A second chance. And so Peter was rescued from that and brought to a path that led him to apostleship. The other would have led him to who knows what. And so Ruth and Naomi and different people in the Bible. What about the woman caught in adultery and they were going to stone her, and Jesus is drawn in the sand, and each one of them walked away, and He said to her, where are the people that condemn you? And she says, they have all left. He says, then get up and sin no more. It's her second chance. She had a time to turn to Christ and sin no more with the lifestyle she was living. We're going to study one man, one book of the Bible, and the book of the Bible is Jonah. Jonah is known because of the whale story, Jonah and the whale in Sunday school. How many have ever heard of Jonah and the whale story? You were taught and preached. But it was not a great right statement of Scripture, because it doesn't say in the Bible he was swallowed by a whale. He was swallowed by a big fish. And it could have been a whale, it could have been, but it was a big fish, it wasn't a whale. And so anyway, all that you learned about Jonah and the whale, throw it out. Jonah and the big fish, okay? And so Jonah is a little minor prophet, only 4 chapters. There's only 48 verses in the book. You could read it in the time I'm preaching to you right now, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you read the whole book. So it's a very short book, and it's one of the only books in the minor prophets that is not containing any prophecies. There's no prophecies in the book of Jonah. It is a narrative. It's a story about the prophet himself, not about prophesying, not about prediction, just about this man, Jonah. So the whole 4 chapters is about his life, and we're going to dig into that. Jonah was a prophet that was called by God to go to Nineveh. And Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. Assyria is about 500 miles from Jerusalem. He lived only 4 miles, Jonah, from Jerusalem in his time. And God said to him, go to Assyria, prophesy, and take this message, 5 words, to the Assyrian people that they are to repent. And you will see God do something mighty in that city. It was a massive city, one of the largest cities in the world. And so Jonah said, no, I'm not going. I don't want to go. They are evil people. They will kill me or worse. And so I'm not going to go. So Jonah is called by the commentators and the people that write about Jonah. He's called the bad attitude prophet. He's also called the prodigal prophet because he left God. He's also called the second chance prophet, which brings us to our specific subject this morning as we talk about Jonah. Jesus identified with Jonah. Think about this. Only in the lowest point of his life. Jesus only refers to 4 prophets in his ministry. And Jonah is one of them. Think of that. Jonah is one of the only 4 that he refers to in his ministry. And he only refers to Jonah when Jonah was in his worst situation, most rebellion, the worst circumstance. He refers to Jonah and quotes that verse out of Jonah about himself, 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale or the belly of the fish, and Jesus 3 days, 3 nights in the belly of the earth. And so Jesus quotes from this prophet because of his own life circumstance. Jonah is a story, and it's our story. It's you and me. Every one of us, we're a Jonah. We'd like to be, called maybe something else that would be more heroic, but we're all Jonahs. We all have our attitudes, and we have some of our disobedience, which Jonah was very disobedient. He disobeyed God when God called him. He complained about God to other people. He suffers from severe depression, and he suffers from a prophet that would not tell anybody what he was doing so that he could run as far as he could run. And so he represents us, the person that needs another chance, the person that needs, in a pivotal point of life, a second chance. And I'm calling second chance deeper than another chance. It's the chance that is pivotal with your life directions. It's a pivotal decision that takes you down one path or another. It turns you either toward God, as God would maybe break some things in you and bring you around to calling on his name, or it turns you to hard-heartedness. It turns you toward your carnal self, to make excuses. I don't have to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to follow God. I'm not going to surrender my life to God. I'm not going to give to God. I'm going to do my own thing because that's what I want to do. I do like coming to church. I like the music, but I'm not sure about this message of full surrender and give your life to Christ and follow Jesus and get water baptized and walk in the Spirit and study the Bible. Seems like a load of stuff, so I'm not sure I want to do that. And so you make decisions on a low scale and a high scale as you begin to hear the voice of God. In a church like this, you're going to hear the voice of God. In worship, in preaching, in fellowship, you're going to hear God talking to you. People talking about their story, people talking about the grace of God, people talking about their choices, people talking about having another chance, people reaching out to you. God wants to give you another chance. And that is exactly what the message of Jonah is about. It's a message that says, no matter what your fiascos are, no matter how far you go, no matter how hard you get, no matter where your heart ends up, no matter what comes out of your mouth, there is a God in heaven who will never give up on you. He will never stop. He will run after you, and he will tackle you, and he will get you. He is doing everything he can, even if it takes the things that Jonah had to go through like we go through. Sometimes it takes some circumstance, some things that you think God's picking on you, or that the devil is after you, that life itself is just crummy and these things happen to me. But I want to enter into your heart this morning by saying, bad things can turn you to God or turn you away from God. Bad things that happen to you, and there's many bad things that can happen. In our life, in our marriage, we've suffered some definite blows of bad things that happen with our family and with things and just life that comes at you fast, and you just kind of get hit in the head and say, what in the world is this? My cancer journey, my last year's surgery journeys, all this, when I should be in the prime of my life, that would be a good time for you to turn to your neighbor and say, he's in his prime. That'd be a good time to say that right there. And so, why would the Lord do this to me right now at this point? Well, God does things because he works in the dark. He works behind the scenes. You don't know that he's setting up. He's the great producer. He's the one that's getting this film ready. He's getting all the props ready. He's getting all the people ready. He's getting everything ready to lead you into a better life, a God life, a blessed life, a favored life. And so he's behind the scenes working, but you can't see him, and you're saying, God, what in the world are you doing? Where are you? And God says, just chill for a little while. I'm working on your behalf. I'm setting everything up. But it takes me a little while to set everything up. Circumstance and people and open doors and closed doors and all that I'm doing. But I am your producer, and you're my story, and I'm going to come out with a great movie with your name on it. And God is going to do it for you and me. You have a film coming out with your name on it. And people are going to watch that story, and some people are going to go, wow. Some people are going to cry. You went through that. You went through that. Oh my God, you went through that, and you didn't get bitter. You didn't get mad. You turned your life to God, and they're going to turn their life to God, crying and say, oh my God, I've been through things, but I never knew other people went through all this deep stuff. I thought it was just life, and everybody was against me. But lo and behold, my God is for me. My God's working on my behalf. He's doing great things for me that I could never imagine he was working behind the scenes. God does his best work in the dark. Like a developer of a picture in the dark. He develops. All the great people of the Bible, they were in the dark as God was working behind the scenes, setting everything up. How many of you would say right now, I'm really, really glad there's a God in heaven who would never give up on me? Come on, how many would say, you know what? That hits home. How many would say, I'm thanking God right now for some second chances I've already had? And God brought that second chance into my life. I had no idea at all that God could do something with my complicated mess. He could do something with my foolish and bad decisions. He could do something with the things that I have messed up so many times, all the fiascos I've been involved with, and God's going to give me a redo pass. He's going to give me a second chance pass. He's going to look at me and say, your story and your life and your day is today, because I'm going to give you a redo pass. I'm going to give you a second chance pass, and you're going to grab that, and you're going to take the right steps toward the right direction. And lo and behold, the whole stage has been set, and you walk into something that is not complicated. It is simply God doing a marvelous work on your behalf, a marvelous work that you could not even imagine how good it is. So God puts it together. Second chances. Here's my definition. God in his mercy, 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 mercy. Mercy can only be mercy if it's given to someone who doesn't deserve it. It can't be mercy if you deserve it. Mercy is a word that only covers undeserved, unqualified, disqualified. You should not receive that mercy. But with all the characters of the Bible, including Jonah, God comes to him not in judgment, but in mercy. In mercy. Even though I'm expecting God to come with something else, God says, no, I'm going to come to you in mercy, and I'm going to give you the gift. It's a gift. It's a gift of a second chance. Chances that become what? Pivotal. Pivotal to new and better paths forward. Second chances serve as a colorful thread to strengthen our destiny and our purpose, because God has a will, and his will for you is for you to walk in his will. His will for you is for you to be in his purpose. His will for you is to understand you have a calling and a gifting and a talent and a destiny. You have something that is worth redeeming. You are important. You're not junk. You're not junk. You're not a styrofoam cup that life just throws away. You are chosen by God. You are a person favored by God. Even though you don't feel it, I'm telling you right now, second chances are coming your way. Second chances are coming your way. Second chances are coming your way. Favor is coming your way. New open doors is coming your way. And if you don't deserve it, you're in the right place. Jesus deals best with the undeserved. Those who feel they can deserve it and pound their chest like the Pharisee in the temple and says, I am so glad I'm not a sinner like the rest of these people. And God said, I didn't hear his prayer, but there was another man praying on the other side of the temple, bowed down, his face in his hands, and he was saying, oh God, have mercy on me. I'm a sinner. I don't deserve it, but I'm praying that you would have mercy on me. And Jesus says, who would I give mercy to? Not the Pharisee who calls to my name in pride, but the broken man who has no place to turn but to God, but to mercy, but to grace, but to restoration. And Jesus says, I heard his prayer. I'm telling you today, God hears your heart. God is listening right now. And if you respond at all with God and say, that's me, that's me. As you sit there quietly, nobody even knows what's going through your heart. That's me. I need a second chance. I've messed up so many chances. I'm afraid to even ask for another chance. I don't know what to do with every one of them. But you know what? I'm going to cooperate with this man preaching this morning, and I'm going to give in to the word of God, and I'm going to say in my heart, yes, God, give me another chance. Yes, God. Give me a second chance. Give me a pivotal chance. Give me the kind of chance that I don't deserve. Sow the seed of chances into my life. And so that's what happened with Jonah. Oh, okay, let's take a break. How many feel the real of your story going on and listening to the real of the message, and you're putting the two together because your life's running before you? Bad mistake. Horrible decision. Brokenness. Hate, bitterness. Things that have happened to me. And I blame God, I blame somebody, I blame my family. I don't know who to blame. Well, quit blaming. There's no use to keep blaming anybody. Let your reel run and put this reel into your heart this morning. Take the reel, the story that is really happening, the producer that's really making a film. And God is saying to you, I'm not finished with you yet. I have plenty to do with you. I love you with an everlasting love. I will never let you go. I'm going to chase you down. You have a purpose and a dream and a vision. Even if people have let you down, I won't let you down. I'm the God of second chances. I know what I'm doing. I know how to build people. Come on, shout a big amen. God of second chances. Jonah 1:3, point number 1. We're just past the introduction now. Jonah 1:3. Now, at this point, you should relax in it and take a breath, because this is true. This is a true Bible theological point, although I'm taking it from Jonah. God's not surprised by your mistakes. So you make a mistake, you're surprised. People are surprised. God's not surprised. Oh my goodness, were they going to make that mistake? I didn't see it coming. Oh my, who does God call out to? Oh my, oh my. Oh my God, I'm calling to myself. What happened to that person? I didn't see it. God knows everything about you. He knows every little tiny thing about you. He knows every page of the past that you have crossed out. He knows every page of the future that you're going to have. And so when you make a mistake, God doesn't flip out on the throne and say, he's made a mistake. What am I going to do with Abraham? He's lied about his wife twice. And Jacob lies about his wife. And then you get to Judah and what Judah did. And then you get to the rest of the book. And David, why did David do that when the kingdom was right at the height and it was the best time? He has surprised me. I did not see it coming. God will never be surprised by your mistakes. He knows them. He sees them coming. And he doesn't say, now, my, that's a mistake. Angels, go take his life off planet Earth. He irritates me. She irritates me. They keep making the same stupid mistake over and over again. I gave them grace. I gave them forgiveness. I sent my son, and they're still making mistakes. So you go down, rip them off from planet Earth, and get them up to heaven so they can't make any more mistakes. Aren't you glad we don't serve a God like that? And he's not surprised. He's not surprised when Jonah 1:3 says, and Jonah ran away from the Lord, going toward Tarshish, opposite direction of where he should have been going. He went down. He went down. When you make these kind of decisions, you go down to Joppa. He found a ship. There's always a ship that will carry you to do your own thing. There's always some kind of a place that you will provide. You'll find it like Jonah did. But he had to pay money, big money. I'm telling you right now, it's costly to run away. And you'll pay the fare. And it's not the money you think you're going to spend. It's a lot more. He got on the ship to go with them to get away from the Lord. So he was headed 2,000 miles in the wrong direction. He was headed to the coast of Spain. He was going as far as he could to get away from the Lord. And it didn't work. Mistakes. By the way, how many of you in the room today have made some mistakes? How many in the room would say, I've made a few really bad mistakes? How many would say, I've made some embarrassing mistakes? How many would say, if I could, I would go back and erase that mistake? Well, there was a girl in Idaho who... This girl in Idaho, true story. Her parents were gone for the week and they left her the car. Well, she had gone everywhere with their car and her friends, and she had put hundreds of miles on the car. And so the police were called 3 times because they said there's a car in the neighborhood going backwards around the block over and over again. And so the police came and they pulled her over and said, young lady, what are you doing? She says, well, I have my parents' car, and I put a lot of miles on it. So I'm trying to rewind the miles. I'm trying to take the miles. I would say only a girl would do that, but I didn't say that. Any guy, any girl. But in her mind, she's frantic. When they get home and see that I put several thousand miles on the car, and my friends went everywhere. We went to Seattle. We went to Portland. And now the police is laughing at her. So you think going backwards will rewind the mileage on the car? She says, yes. He says, well, it doesn't work, and so would you please go park your car? It won't work. What am I going to do with my parents? You just have to tell them the truth that you put miles. You can't unwind the car. How many would like to go in reverse for a few years and unwind all your mistakes? Put it in reverse and just keep going. I'm going to unwind all. There is no reverse. There's only forward. You have to go forward. You're not this girl in Idaho who makes mistakes and then try to unwind it out of panic. You can't go back. You can only go forward. You can't go back. You can't go backwards. No matter what happened. Even if you replay that mistake over and over again. Bed at night and you're almost asleep, and then comes the real, why did I do that? Your husband say, what are you doing? Nothing, I'm just dreaming about how good you are. We all have reels, and they keep playing. Unless you know what to do with them. Mistakes are errors, miscalculation. Poor judgment. Running a red light's poor judgment, but it's not the end of your life. Mistakes, simply carelessness and other things that you would do. All of us have mistakes, but there are levels of mistakes. Running a red light. Okay, you got to maybe go to court and pay a little, so what? But if you crash into someone else while you're under the influence of whatever, that's not the same. That's a different level of mistake. If you're driving and kill someone, that's a different level of mistake. You're going to have to figure out, and it's now going to change your life. And so sometimes carelessness, sometimes we do things that we're not really expecting to be that serious, but they become very serious. When you start a relationship with a young man, young lady, you're taking on something very serious. There's no, unwinding the car in Idaho. After you get married, you're married. And if it's not what you wanted, too bad. What are you saying? Too bad. It's what you have. Well, I'll leave her and go to another. The other might be worse than the one you have. And it's best to work it out. Work it out. Get some counsel, overcome, climb the mountain, get forgiveness, and work it out. Don't give up on the serious decisions. Here's some mistakes you'll identify with. The aha moment mistake. What is that? When we achieve what we intended to achieve, but realize it's a mistake. I never should have tried to achieve it. I'm on the wrong path. That is not exactly what I was thinking. I miscalculated, I misjudged, and then there comes that moment of, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? I gave everything to this, and now comes this aha moment of, it's not what I want. I made a mistake. Get some counsel and do it very carefully. Better to get counsel before you start the path, to make sure you're not going down a path that will disappoint you and cause you trouble later. How about this one, the stretching forward mistake? This is when you want to achieve higher goals and you're really going after it and you're stretching forward. But in your stretching, you end up losing relationships and health and peace. And you're stressed out and you're cranky all the time. And you're trying to start a business, or you're trying to expand a business, or get a new job, or work 3 or 4 jobs, and whatever, you're stretching forward, but sometimes the stretching forward mistake will cause you to give up on other things that are very important, like children. When you have children, you get to be the person to be there for them. If you can't be there for them, there's kind of no second chance for that. If you miss a game, you missed the game. It's not the end of the world, but you missed the game. And the volleyball or the lesson or going with them somewhere because you're so busy, you're so stretching, you're so into what you feel you need to do. Don't give up the most important things. Simply spend time with the people you love. Spend time with your spouse. Spend time with your children and your children's children. My highlight of life at 72 years of age is my grandchildren. When they come over, I turn into an absolute idiot. You've never seen anything like it. It changes every emotion in me. And, I'm calling Julie and saying, hey, you guys busy tonight? You're probably going out, right? You want to drop Rhodes by? I mean, surely you're not going to take him to the game. Well, yeah, we could drop. Okay, bring him over. Why? Because you enjoy the fruits of good relationships. And so if you have a bad relationship with your parents now, heal it, mend it, stand up to it, try to get through it. If mistakes were made, forgive them. Start over again. Life's too short to live in bitterness. Life too short to keep blaming everybody else. Own up to it and forget it. Thank you, Frank. Here's another mistake called the unintentional dumb mistake. We didn't mean to. It's just a blunder. We weren't focused. We didn't think about it. We were distracted. I was distracted. I was half-hearted. It was a misstep. Boy, talk about a dumb mistake. Listen, when you make a dumb mistake, don't go talk to dumb people. Just because they've made a dozen dumb mistakes doesn't make them wise. But you identify, I did that one. Oh, yes, I did that one too. Yeah, man, I've been through that one too. Oh, a few years ago I went through that. Well, what happened? I don't know. I just went through it. They were my mistake. Well, what'd you do? I don't know what you're going to do either. I'm still just kind of dealing with it. Don't talk to dumb people when you're making dumb mistakes. Go higher. Everyone shout, go higher. Go to someone that's a little older than you. If you're 22, don't talk to the 21-year-old about who you're dating and what's the best. They might not know what's best for you and who you're dating, what a good man looks like. Talk to someone who's been married to the same woman for 45 years. That'd be me. That'd be me. And I used to have young men, young ladies talk to me when I was pastoring both in Eugene and in Portland all those years. They would come and talk to me about these things, and I would be open with them. Okay, so let's go through this. And sometimes it was not the right timing, but I think they'll get better. Sometimes time will never fix this guy. This guy he was born an idiot, he is an idiot, and he's going to be an idiot. And you're going to have to follow all of his idiot mistakes, which he already has. He's trying to marry you into all of his debt, all of his bad decisions, all of his no career choices. Everything he's doing, he's going to pass on to you. Do you want that? No, I don't want that. Then what should you do? Well, should I break up? I'm not telling you to break up. I'm just telling you, break up. Everything I just said, get your head screwed on right. Thread your neck, screw your head. You've got to think right on the serious decisions. And if they're unintentional, dumb, starting a business, don't talk to someone who's been bankrupt 3 times. Only if you want to learn what not to do, maybe so, but that's not who I'm going to talk to. I'm going to find Mr. Success, and I'm going to go to him and I say, you've been in business for 26 years, and you have all these people working for you. You never filed bankruptcy. How did you do it? Well, I'll tell you how I did. And they sit you down, and you start gaining. So what I'm saying is when you're dumb, find smart. Turn to your neighbor and say, and you're smart. Ooh, some of you aren't talking. Some of you might make costly mistakes. He's not up yet, right? Okay. How many of you are getting something out of this? How many, as I'm preaching, your reel is running and you're saying, aha, aha, aha? How many of you are looking at that young man sitting next to you that you're dating and you're thinking, you know, we got some talking to do, buh. If I can make that happen, it'll be great. If you're supposed to get married, nothing can stop you. That's a lie. You can stop it. Someone else can stop it. Okay. Costly mistakes. You don't prepare it. It's sloppy. But know this. The older you get, the more the big decisions have an impact on your life. When you're young, you can outlive them. Learn from them, go on. But if you're making the same mistakes at 22, at 42, it's a problem. Because now you're married, or maybe you have children too. And now you're making some really costly, high stakes mistakes to do with your career, or with your banking, or with your house, or with your credit, or any of the practical things of life. We could go on. And we could also talk about the spiritual things. So the costly mistake, you have to do your homework and make sure as things have a rising of cost as you age. When you're young, again, you'll get through it. You'll grow through it. The older you get, the harder it is to grow through it. Thank you, Frank. All the older people here say amen. All the younger people are saying, no, I think I'll learn from my mistake. Then learn quick. Learn quick. All right? There's also the thing I call almost fatal mistakes. Now, these are the highest stakes you could ever go into. And the mistakes here have terrible consequences. I won't say what those are, because you can imagine what they might be in life. And it could be relationally, financially, career. It could be moral. It could be things in your spiritual life. It could be even, there's a list goes on and on. And so fatal mistakes is when you make a mistake that is hard to ever turn it back. You can't turn it back. It's almost a fatal mistake. You can learn from it. You can get grace for it. And you can go forward. But it was almost fatal. It almost ruins your house, ruins your soul, ruins your character, ruins your spirit. Those are fatal mistakes. Those are high. What Jonah was doing was a fatal. He had terrible consequences. He chose to not serve the Lord, walk away from God, go and pay the fare, go a different direction. I don't have to report to God. I don't have to be responsible for this. I don't want to be responsible for this. I have a life to live, and I'm going to go live it in Spain. But that's not what God had for him. All right? Here's another point. God will find you wherever you run. Doesn't matter where you go. God will find you. If you go to like it says in Psalms, make my bed in hell, he says, I'll find you. I mean, Jonah's on a ship going 2,000 miles, and it was immediately that God found him and sent the storm. And everybody was terrified, but God found Jonah, and God would find you, even in the choices you're making that are not the best right now. But I'm believing God's going to help you make better choices. Number 3, God sends the storm to change our direction. Not the devil, not your friend, not even really your decision that caused the storm, although the root cause is you leaving from that core place of serving and following God and obeying what God is saying to you and your life. But God, it says in Jonah 1:4, but the Lord, come on, say it with me, but the Lord. Come on, church, talk to me, but the Lord. So the Lord sent a great wind. Who sent the great wind? The Lord. On the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship that he was on was breaking up. You got to be careful what ships you get on, because if God gets involved, he might sink your ship. And God will send the worst storm into your life, and you'll be looking at the storm. Sometimes it comes with pain and suffering, loss, turbulence. The storms come in many different ways. But he who sends the storm steers the vessel. And so God hurls like a spear down on the waters where Jonah is, and this great storm arises on the sea. And God says, you won't stop, so I'm going to stop you. It's better if you stop yourself, turn yourself, surrender yourself, and not make God do this on the sea. So you're caught in a complicated, mighty storm. You can't walk away from divine assignment. Means of a sovereign God cannot be changed by your stubbornness. Storms have a special purpose set on them. Let's stop, pause, push pause, watching the reel this morning, push pause, okay. How many of you are in a big storm right now? See your hands. Come on, how many are going through a really tough storm? How many have asked the question, is it God? Is it the devil? Is it me? What did I do? Just understand, God chooses the best for you even if it's painful. So God will send a storm to get your direction, change your compass so that you will do the right thing that He has called you to do, because the right thing is the thing that will bring peace and happiness to your life. Number 4, God never lets you go, never stops loving you. No matter if you go the way you think you're going to go, God never stops. He just keeps coming after you. He doesn't fail. He never fails you. You fail Him. You have all kinds of attitudes. And even if you say God doesn't exist and, I can do what I want to do, and God ignores you. He just keeps going after you with His love, even though you might feel some shame or you might feel some problems. It says He prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah. That fish was ordained to swallow Jonah. He was appointed by God to swallow Jonah. And so when he was born, God just said, now you get real fit and live a good life, because I have one thing for you to do. You're going to be my profit-eating fish. And so I'll call you when it's time. That fish lived however long, and at that right moment, God says, okay, now I prepared you for this. Here comes the prophet. Swallow him. Done. Your purpose is finished now. And so then comes Jonah in the whale. In the whale are the fish. For 3 days and 3 nights. What does that say? Wherever you go and whatever it takes, God has prepared a fish for you. And it will combine you. It will swallow you up in your circumstances. Say, I'm not going to let you go any further. For your own good, you're going to have to put up with 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of this great fish. And it says seaweed was wrapped around his head. And he was a man that was under severe suffering. Number 5, God hears and answers desperate prayers. There's one thing to pray for the food. There's one thing to pray for today. Lord, give me a great day. There's one thing to pray for vacation. God, open that house we want to stay at. There's one thing to pray for. There's a lot of prayers. But there are times in your life when you pray desperately. It's not just, It's, oh, God! You better go somewhere where they can't hear you. I would go to my car, roll up the windows, get on the freeway so nobody could hear me, and I could shout, sing, do whatever I want. Oh, God, 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 I need you, I need you. God, where are you? Where are you? I know it's real. I know you're there. I know you're doing something. Why? Because God works behind the scenes. God works His best work in the dark. I can't see the movie He's producing. I can't see how He's setting everything up. I'm getting nervous. Oh, God. And that's desperate prayer. When you can't see is probably the time that God's doing His most work. You can't see it. But oh, God starts planning it. And here's the prayer of Jonah. May a great fish come and just... Okay. He's my friend. I just play with him about that. Jonah 2. I'll end with this as the band comes. I know they're coming. No matter what happens, they're coming. And this is now Jonah in the fish, in the belly, seaweed wrapped around his head. He's come to the end of himself. How many have ever prayed, oh God, bring me to the end of myself? Well, here's good news. You don't have to pray it. It's in fine print on the contract. And when you said, Jesus, I follow you, and in fine print it said, and I will make you the way I want to make you, and I will bring you to the place I want to bring you, and there will be no arguments. I didn't read that fine print. What are you talking about? God is sovereign, and whatever it takes, he's going to bring you to that place. So Jonah starts praying. I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble. No kidding, great trouble. And he answered me, and I called to you from the land of the dead. That's what he calls where he's at. You hurt me. You threw me into the ocean depths, and I sank down to the heart of the sea. The mighty waters engulfed me. I was buried beneath your wild and stormy waves. And I said, oh, Lord. Come on, say that with me really loud. Oh, Lord. Come on, kind of do it with a little bit of desperation. Oh, Lord. Let's do it again. No, you're not even cooperating with me. I want you to both, there's going to be 2 fishes come your way. Okay. Come on, everyone say out loud, oh, Lord. Sometimes you pray, and then there's times when you don't care what anybody thinks or what anybody's going to hear, and you just lift your hand, you say, oh, Lord, I need help. You should go, boom, boom. Oh, no, you don't like that. Yeah, oh, Lord, boom, boom. And I said, oh, Lord, you have driven me from your presence, yet I will look once more to your holy temple. I sank beneath the waves, and the waters closed over me. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head. I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, whose gates were locked shut. But you, O Lord my God, snatched me from the jaws of death. As my life was slipping away, I remembered the Lord, and my earnest prayer went out to you in the holy temple. Those who worship false gods turn their back on God's mercies. But I will offer sacrifices to you with songs of praise, and I will fulfill my vows. For my salvation comes from the Lord. And then there's that break in the book. This is the turning point of the whole book in Jonah 2:7-10, where it says, then, everyone say then. So after all this, then the Lord ordered the fish to spit Jonah up on the beach that he was supposed to be on. So God reordered his steps. And the last point is, God gave him unlimited, merciful second chance. After all that, it says, now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, and he takes this word, his mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So Jonah starts receiving this new word. Okay, Jonah, let's go again at this. Will you do it? Yes, I will do it. Okay, the word is coming to you the second time. And you're going to go with the word, right? I'm going to go with it. A mother was talking to Napoleon about her son. Her son had made a problem with an offense he caused twice. And the result of the offense was death. He was to be sentenced to death. And the mother came to Napoleon and said, please, 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 please spare my son. Napoleon said, he's done this twice. He will be executed. But I beg you to have mercy on my son. Napoleon said, your son does not deserve mercy. He deserves justice. And the mother said to him, it wouldn't be mercy if he deserved it. Mercy is to the undeserved. And Napoleon said to the woman, okay, mercy it will be. Let the man go. He understood at that moment, I can give him mercy. I'm telling you right now today that God wants to show mercy, and he's full of mercy for your life, for your future, for your past, for your now, for every mistake ever made, for all the things that you have gone through, all the things that you failed at and still went through it. He's the God of many chances, and He's the God of unlimited chance, and He's the God who has put in His hand on your life to say, I'm not done with you, and I'm going to do something great for your life, and it starts right now today. I am the God who is not finished with you. Bow your head. Just bow your head for a second. Give everybody a little bit of privacy. Let me ask you a couple questions. Number one, how many are in the room today? How many in the room today who have never really surrendered their life to Jesus Christ and made that pivotal step of turning to God, and you know you need to turn to God? Would you lift your hand right now? Lift your hand. If you know you have never turned to God before. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, just lift your hand straight. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to do anything weird. But I want your heart to respond. I've never turned my life to God. This is new for me. There's several hands up all over. All right, now, second question. How many of you have walked away somehow from God or His presence? How many of you have gone down and paid the fare and taken a ship and you need a second chance? Would you lift your hands? Say, I need a second chance right now. There are things I've done that makes me believe I need a second chance. There's many hands. Still a second or so, lift your hand. If you're responding, say with your hand, I want a second chance today. Today. I want God to change my direction today. With all the hands that are all over. Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. All right, stand to your feet. Everybody stand to your feet. First of all, let's give the Lord a great clap offering and just say, thank you for the cross. Thank you for your nature.